Hey there, everybody. I know this might be bad quality, but I'm recording from my computer, so there's really nothing else I can do. But today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a great compost bin with worms. So, uh, based on previous research and previous experience with this category, I'm going to be teaching you how to make two successful compost bins with worms. So, let's start off with night crawlers. Now, night crawlers are one of the most popular worms. Now, if you're a big fisherman like me, then you're gonna want a night crawler bin with your red wrigglers, which we're gonna talk about later. Now, night crawlers, they decompose more slow. If they combine with the red wrigglers may possibly overtake them, and that's bad in the case of the night crawlers, and they could possibly die off. So we're going to have a separate bin for the night crawlers. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to go to your nearest hardware store, or if you have wood at your own house, that is perfectly good. So what you're going to want to do for your first compost bin is you're going to want two pieces of plywood. Each one should be about 2.5 feet by 2 feet. Now, this is going to make sure this plywood keeps in moisture and heat. So, what you're going to do from there is you're going to want a 1.5 foot by 2.5 feet wood platform. Now with that, you're going to want four actually, for all around it. So basically, you should nail your bottom plywood into the four other wood platforms. Then, of course, after that, you're not going to drill off the top yet because we still have a lot of work to do after that. Once you make sure it's all nailed in and steady and nice and firm, you're going to want to drill some holes. So I would grab a very small drill bit. I wouldn't even say a centimeter. I'd say drill 2 holes in the middle of the bottom, and then you should be good from there. Now on the bottom, night crawlers, they love cardboard for some reason. It's odd, but they do. I think it helps keep them moist from the research I've done. So what you're gonna do is grab cardboard, toilet paper rolls. You're gonna completely soak it in water. Now it doesn't have to sit there, you can just soak it in water. Completely line the bottom. Now what that's gonna do, it's gonna help with the plywood, but also if the worms get down there and they're not gonna be able to get out, but they still have a nice place to go and lay if they're resting or... Yeah, so once you're done with that, what you're going to do is you're going to put some wet newspaper down. Repeat the same thing with the cardboard, except it's newspaper. Now, newspaper, night crawlers also love. It helps with the moistness, and it helps keep the decomposing process faster, because when those worms are dry, they're slower and they don't move as much. You can even experiment it for yourself. Put worms in maybe a little bowl of water. They move and move and move and move and they stretch out. That is what you want in your bin, essentially. Then from there, you're going to grab leaf litter. Now, leaf litter is one of the essentials for this. Leaf litter is dry leaves, dry twigs, little kindling, basically anything you can find in a forest. So you can go to your nearest forest. You don't even need to have necessarily twigs. You can go out grab some dry tree buds, some dry leaves from your backyard, stack that right on top of the newspaper. You're going to want maybe an inch and a half thick of leaf litter on top of that. Then coir. Now coir, I recommend cocoa coir. It's basically worm heaven for them. This is a very nice place for the worms to poop or reproduce, as well as some worm bedding. Now you can order that off of Amazon, go to Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops. They should have them there. Now you're just going to mix that all up, and you should have maybe that much in there. Then on top of that, you're going to repeat from the newspaper up, except when you get up to the coir and the bedding, you're not going to put coir or bedding. You're actually going to take some wood chips, and not wood chips necessarily, but they can be from around your house. So some dirt with some wood chips mixed in. Now, when it comes to compost here, I wouldn't be too worried. You don't have to be too ticky-tacky with this like you do the red wrigglers, but you don't have to take the little stickers off the banana peels, anything like that. So you're just going to want to lay that on top. Then once you have that, you're going to want to put your greens on top always. You're always going to want to put your greens on top. So once you're done with your greens, and you have a dog, say cat, maybe, or you live on a farm, go out, grab some of that manure, and you can put that on top. That is also worm heaven. So with this decombustion, this should make a healthy worm habitat and healthy soil too. So with this, you're gonna see a difference in a couple days. Now, you're not gonna want to put a second layer of compost on for, I'd say, at least 4 days. And this helps the worms get nice and comfortable with their environment, and they should start reproducing and eating. Now, with this, the top, you are going to, it's going to be your second piece of plywood, of course, but you're going to want to have, this is your lid. So if you have any spare door hinges, you can attach those on, or you can just simply put it off and back on. But I prefer hinges so I can easily open it, and it doesn't necessarily blow away or anything. And you can put a magnet at the front on the opposite side of the hinges so it stays a little better. Now, you're going to want to drill holes. I'd say a matter of 12 holes on the top. Now, you don't want them too big so the worms escape or the heat escapes, but you're going to want tiny little holes up there for some air and heat in there, of course. So now we have the red wrigglers. Now the red wrigglers, these guys are the real deal. They're good for bait, they're great for composting. Actually, they're the best worms for composting. So red wrigglers you can't exactly find in your backyard. The backyard worms that you dig up are going to go with the night crawlers. But the night crawlers, you don't exactly all want to dig it up. So what I do is I go to my local gas station and buy a couple dozen. You can start out with 2 dozen, 3 dozen, even maybe 4 dozen. I wouldn't go past 4 dozen personally because that's just a lot to start off the bin with. They need to get spread out and comfortable with their environment, and then they'll go at it. So with the red wrigglers, you're going to have the same setup as the night crawlers. Now with this, with the inside of this, you might want to put screen mesh. Now screen mesh, you can decide whether or not you want to put in. But personally, me, it's a great idea if if you're like me and you just really need all the worms you can get, because of course I go fishing a lot. So the red wrigglers are going to be just a little bit different of a setup because they love moving around so much. Now, you don't have to mix it up or anything, but you're going to have your plywood on the bottom, drill your 2 holes, then you are going to have your cardboard on the bottom. But you're going to want a little more for this because the red wrigglers reproduce so fast and they're going to need that moisture, and there's so many in there. Then if you have any Miracle Grow soil, that is actually great for the red wrigglers because it helps plants grow, as we know, but it speeds up the process of decomposition. But from there, you are going to put a thin layer of cardboard and newspaper mixed up after that Miracle Grow. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put your coir down, and then you're going to put your compost on top, and the manure and greens on top of that. And then same thing with the plywood and the lid. Now, I hope you learned a lot from this. This is what I personally learned from many other opinions on YouTube after a long couple days of research. Now, I hope this works well for you. Fish well, and good luck composting. Composting, I'm sorry.